Good morning, everybody, and welcome. This is our Tuesday, June 16th, regular business meeting of the Mason County Commission. We'll begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. Ross, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner District 1, Randy Handelman.
I'm here.
Commissioner District 2, Tim Sheldon.
Also here.
Commissioner District 3, Terry Jeffries.
Here.
Item number 4, correspondence and organizational business. Do we have any correspondence to come before this commission?
We do. The Liquor Control Board sent a marijuana license application for Hemp Industries International and a liquor license application for HD's Tavern. And the Lower Hood Canal Watershed Coalition sent a letter regarding volunteer citizen monitoring.
Item number 4.2, proclamation. It says Chair Randy Netherland, but Commissioner Jeffries.
Okay. Ross McDowell, our Emergency Services Manager, why don't you introduce what the group that we're honoring today is all about and how they serve the county, and then I will read the proclamation.
Excellent, excellent. I'm Ross McDowell, Emergency Management, Mason County. Today what we're getting is a proclamation for the Amateur Radio Week. And amateur radio takes in more than just what is known as the ham radio operators. It's also emergency communication operators. During times of disasters and emergencies, sometimes our communication systems might go down. And we're looking for redundancy, we're looking for a backbone that will work during those times. And one of the biggest ones we have found has been the ham radio. Ham radio run by citizens, normal citizens that take classes for licensing, and they're licensed to operate on the ham radio frequencies. Today we have with us some of our groups that are from the communication support team from Mason County, the Races group, and the Aries group. And then we also have those have other factions that come off of them that are a little bit smaller groups that are radio clubs that are out there. There is so many of them here, not only in Mason County, but all throughout the United States that are people usually that are just interested in helping. And these are some of our volunteers that are going to help Mason County in our time of emergency and time of need. So I'd like, if I could, have them stand up and introduce themselves. I'll give you their name and their call letter for their operator's license. Dave?
Dave Evander, my call sign is AC7YX, and I'm the American Radio Relay League Emergency Coordinator for Mason County.
I'm Rick Shaner, my call sign is KE7NUQ.
I'm Pat Casey, my call sign is KG7GUL. I'm also a races officer and communication support team at DEM.
And my name is Marlene Ziske, and my call sign is Alpha Echo 7 Victor Golf.
Mark Henderson, AA7CG.
Tammy Wright, KG7 GP. I'm also work at DEM, and I'm also part of the communications support team.
I'm Sandy Kornstrom. I have no call sign because I'm not a ham radio operator, but I worked in emergency management for a number of years. I retired from it up there, but I keep getting, called back for things. So, and I am the secretary for the communications support team, and, secretaries, they try to keep them on the straight and narrow. That's my job, man. Thank you.
She's in charge of us. So. Yeah. Great asset. And I am Ross McDowell, and mine is Kilo Echo 7 Yankee Zulu David is my call number. So we have quite a few people that are involved in this. This is only a small portion, obviously, but we are at the counties. Whenever they need, we're there for us. So, thank you.
Before you read that, I want to make a comment. You guys did notice that Ross read his?
Yes.
Were you
Yeah.
guys all?
I'm used
I
to
noticed
it.
that. I just wanted to point that out. So.
I'm used to a different, because mine would normally be King Edward VII, young Zebra David, from being in the cop world for 30 years. They've used a different phonetic language, so I had to switch over and
Sure.
one track,
Sure.
one track. That's all I
Sure.
do. Yeah, so,
That
yeah,
military,
yeah.
it's a law enforcement thing.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Well, of course, the county is so thankful and so dependent on you folks, especially in times of emergency. And we thank you so much for what you do, and it is with honor that we do proclaim this as the week, this week? The week of June 22nd through 28th is Amateur Radio Week. Whereas the Federal Communications Commission licenses all amateur radio operators to provide public and emergency communications, develop and maintain a pool of radio operators, and promote domestic and international goodwill. And whereas Mason County has about 375 licensed amateur radio operators who have demonstrated their value in public assistance by providing emergency radio communication, and whereas these amateur radio operators donate these services free of charge to the county in the interest of the citizens of the county as well as the world, and whereas these amateur radio operators are on alert for any emergency, local or worldwide, and practice their communication skills during the American Radio Relay League Field Day, whereas this year's Amateur Radio Field Day will take place on Saturday, June 27 and Sunday, June 28, 2015, and whereas amateur radio operators deserve our recognition and gratitude for the many services they provide. Now, therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners of Mason County, do hereby proclaim the week of June 22 through 28, 2015 as Amateur Radio Week in Mason County. In recognition of this important emergency preparedness exercise, we call on all residents to pay appropriate tribute to the amateur radio operators of Mason County. So thank you very much for your work, and it's with pleasure that we do recognize your work.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I've had a chance to visit with you during some of the field days that you've had. I didn't see in the proclamation where the field day is going to be held this year. I know I've been at one up at Camp Colby and
There's, we're gonna have in two locations. One is the Hitters Field behind DEM. We're also gonna have what we call a gata, get on the air, over at Walmart, where anybody can come over and actually get on the air and talk.
great. Well, I hope a lot of the young people stop in. It's a real fascinating thing to see and to get to talk to individuals and learn what you've been doing.
And there's some of our brochures that we put up there. Oh, just pass them around.
So we have a lot of information. My favorite is 22 things you can do with amateur radio. Technology that is as cool as you want to make it. So, and I hope that you have good luck recruiting the younger folks into this, because this is really important, and who knows where they could take this, huh?
Exactly.
We don't usually call from the audience, but I'm going to go ahead and allow you.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine, please.
One of the things is that he talked about where the exercise is gonna be, and some of us will remember that, us old timers, as the old Hofert tree farm.
Yeah.
So that's where that exercise is, part of the exercise is gonna be.
Okay.
You know, although we have so many, it's been made clear during our CERT trainings and stuff that we still have a shortage of the ones that are actively working this, our emergency systems for us, basically. Come to understand, we both took the CERT training, come to understand you are our fallback for everything. These things and a lot of the other things we use become worthless in a moment. And it will be you that we're counting on for everything, and I appreciate all you do, and I'm sure that the community recognizes as well. That's why this has occurred, but this goes out on the air to others, so I hope they understand it and recognize it. Thank you for your service for our community. With that being said, I'll go ahead and move on to item number 5, which is open forum for citizens input. This is your opportunity to speak on any issue that is not on the agenda. If it is on the agenda, we would ask that you hold off and wait and speak at that time. If it's on our consent agenda or action agenda, you can have it pulled off, and you'll be given an opportunity to testify. But if it's not on the agenda, this is your opportunity to come up and speak to the commission and to the community as well about issues that are concerning you. With that being said, you'll be given up to 5 minutes per person. But remember, there's only a 15-minute allotment for this section, so just because there's more people in the room today, so please be brief if there's something you'd like to say. With that being said, is there anybody who would like to be recognized by the chair and come to the podium and speak on an issue not on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 6, which is the adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of County Commissioners adopt the agenda as presented today.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded for the adoption of the agenda as written. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, the motion carries. Item number 7, approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the May 18th and 26th, 2015 briefing minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded for the approval of the May 18th and 26th briefing minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, the motion carries. Next up is our action agenda. All items under the action agenda may be enacted by one motion unless a commissioner or citizen requests an item be removed from the action agenda and considered as a separate item. What we will do at this point is we will read each of the items to you, and then afterwards you'll be given an opportunity to ask a question that would help you decide if you want to take it off for a separate vote. But if you have a discussion you'd like to have with the commission or a testimony you'd like to give, we ask that you just go ahead and have it taken off for a separate vote, and we will deal with it directly, and you'll be given that opportunity. After I've said that, I will read 8.1 through 8.3. Commissioner Jeffries, if you will read 8.4 through 8.6, and Commissioner Sheldon, if you will read 8.7 through 8.9. Item number 8.1, approval to set a hearing on July 14, 2015 at 9:30 a.m. to receive public comment for the private line occupancy permit for Francis Millette on Lake Drive for a septic transport line near 300 Northeast Lake Drive, Tahuya. Item number 8.2, approval to appoint Susan Ickes to the Lewis Mason Thurston Agency on Aging. And item number 8. The advisory council to fill a term that expires on December 31st, 2016. Item number 8.3, approval to make the following appointments in Mason County Lodging Tax Advisory Committee to fill 2 spender positions for a term ending May 2016. Heidi McCutcheon from the Shelton Chamber of Commerce and Arnold Hampton from Friends of Schaefer Lake, Sylvia.
Item 8.4, approval of Veterans Assistance Fund applications for food, total amount $600, utilities $120.68, and housing $650 for a total of $1,370.68 as recommended by the Veterans Service Office. 8.5, approval of the new indigent defense attorney services for Superior Court half-time contract with Sean Tashner for July 1 through December 31st, 2015. This contract will replace the previous contract with FT Law, same terms and conditions, that will terminate on June 19, 2015. 8.6, approval to set a hearing on July 14, 2015 at 9:30 a.m. to consider changing the school speed zone from 8 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. to daylight hours on Sand Hill Road.
Mr. Chairman, 8.7, approval of the Juvenile Detention Alternative Initiative, JDAI grant contract for 2015 through 2016. This is a nationwide initiative that reduces detention population by ensuring juvenile courts only detain juveniles when necessary, and funding provides staff support and creation of alternative programs in lieu of detention. There are no matching funds required for this grant. 8.8, approval of warrants, claims clearing fund, warrants numbers 8024368 through 8022440 in the amount of $122,409.35. Claims clearing fund, warrant numbers 8024547 through 8024859 in the amount of $1,032,338.34 for a total of $1,154,747.69. Year-to-date, the claims clearing fund has totaled $14,703,635.60. And finally, 8.9, approval for the board to formally accept Belfair Water Reclamation Facility, WRF, mediated settlement with Boss Construction in the amount of $1,199,999.90, which will release the county from any further legal proceedings with Boss or Seahurst Electrical, and allow Mason County to officially start the required project closeout procedures.
Now that these items have been read to you, you'll be given an opportunity at this time to ask any question that would help you to decide whether or not to take it off the agenda. If you'd like to take it off the agenda, we'll give you that opportunity as well. Is there anybody in the audience who has any questions about any of the issues that would help them make that decision? Hearing none, is there any items on the agenda in the audience that people would like taken off for a separate discussion? Commissioners, any items? We had a request to take off 8.9 for a separate discussion?
Sure. So I think that'd be it's a large item, so I think that'd be appropriate. And we have some people here that could speak to it.
Any other items? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Given the fact that 8.9 is set for a separate vote, Mr. Chairman, I'll move that all the items on the action agenda today, item 8.1 through item 8.8, be approved.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded for the approval of the action agenda items. Items 8.1 through 8.8 is up for vote. Item 8.9 has been removed for a separate vote. Is there any discussion?
I just wanted to point out that item 8.3, our Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, we do have Mr. Hampton in the audience, and I want to thank you, and I just want to thank our Lodging Tax Advisory Committee for their work. And thank you for stepping up.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hampton. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries. Item number 8.9, approval for the board to formally accept the Belfair Water Reclamation Facility mediation settlement with Boss Construction in the amount of $1,199,999.90, which will release the county from any further legal proceedings with Boss or Seahurst Electrical and allow Mason County to officially start the required project closeout procedure. Brian Matthews is the head of Public Works. He will give us a brief description.
Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to explain this a little bit to, I know you're aware of what's going on, but to the public that may be watching and very interested in what's going on with this project. To the point, somewhere around 2006 or earlier, Mason County was in the process of designing a wastewater treatment plant for the Belfair area. In 2009, the county received its last piece of funding through the American Reinvestment and Recovery Act from the federal government. In December 7th of 2009, which is kind of an ironic date, Mason County entered into a contract with Boss Construction out of Bellingham, Washington. 2 years later, Boss also entered into a contract with Mason County for a part of the project, which was also known as the Pond and Irrigation Project. The pond and the WRF opened in July of 2012. In March of 2012, for the pond opening, we received a claim from Boss Construction for approximately $1.2 million with no backup. Since that time, we have been in long-term discussions and processes to resolve this claim with Boss Construction. Part of the contract that we signed into required that if we disagreed, that we would go through what's called a dispute resolution board, and that is also known affectionately as a DRB, where they hire 3 professional construction individuals to come in, oversee, hear information from both sides of the party, and trying to reach a settlement without having to go to court. Ideally, court is ideally staying out of court is a lot cheaper for both parties involved. In October of 2014, after a bunch of wangling back and forth, we presented our case to September 2014, we presented our case and Boss presented their case to the DRB. The findings were issued in October of 2014, and the DRB, or the Dispute Resolution Board's recommendation, was that Boss was entitled to approximately $1.8 million. Mason County was owed approximately $450,000 for liquidated damages. The contract allowed both parties to either accept the DRB's agreement and move forward, or to reject the DRB's agreement. Boss accepted it, Mason County rejected it, feeling that we had a strong claim for not having to pay that claim. The next step we entered into as part of our contract was a mediated discussion or mediation with the contractor. This was held by a single individual who has many years of experience in doing mediations, and particularly construction mediations, and that occurred on May 27th of 2015. The result of that settlement is what you're seeing, or the result of that mediation, excuse me, is this settlement that you're seeing, and its documentation in your books. Essentially, it pays Boss $1,999,990, or $99, excuse me, and 10 cents. We stayed under the 1.2. Oh, I'm sorry, $1,199,999 and 10 cents. We stayed under $1.2 million.
And that includes sales tax.
That includes sales tax. Originally, Boss was at about $2.2 million without sales tax, so we were able to substantially reduce that claim. At this point, in considering the alternatives and the risk and all the factors that go into this, we are recommending that the commission approve this settlement agreement and that we are allowed to move forward with closing out the project, cleaning up the ARRA documentation that we need to submit to the Department of Ecology, and closing the project formally. The project, just for information wise, was approximately $54 million. We're talking, 1.2 million as a claim. Total wise, we had approximately $2 million in claims on the entire project. That includes conveyance, the pond, and the WRF. Percent wise, it's pretty small, what we normally see in public works construction. So, do you have any questions, commissioners?
1.8 million original, did that include sales tax?
No, it did not.
I think you used a figure of 1.2 earlier, but that, I think that was 1.8 they wanted. It's interesting too to me because Boss Construction did our Russellwood treatment plant, and it went very well. I remember going to the ribbon cutting. We had the community was very involved in that project, felt very good about it. But as any project that goes along of this magnitude, we ran into, you name it, unstable soils, water, weather, lots of issues. So I'm glad that, and I want to thank one of our attorney Dan here today, and Tim, who did a fantastic job representing us and working through these issues. You guys spent a lot of time, Brian. I know when we got phone calls from you, you were still up there in Seattle at 10 o'clock at night trying to wrangle the last nickel out. So thank you very much. We were well represented.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that.
And I truly do appreciate both attorneys. They were good at keeping me calm. So that is worth a lot of value to me. So thank you.
Is there any questions from the audience? Hearing none. Commissioner, you have any questions?
Another comment and a thank you. I mean, hours and hours and hours of mediation, and just appreciate the tenacity that everybody had to go through this and get to a settlement that everybody can agree on. And it is conditional on some items that need to happen from the contractor, and so the county continues to be protected by signing this agreement.
And I might add too, Mr. Chairman, that Seahurst Electrical, which was a subcontractor, has also settled any of their claims as with this action today.
I just want to make clear that aside from the savings, which is huge, and it was well worth going through this process. We didn't just win and save money. We were in the right on that aspect of it. We shouldn't have been being asked to pay that in the first place. That's why we stood up, not just because we could or pay. It was a situation where we believed honestly that they weren't owed that. It's just that simple. And the taxpayers of Mason County, even though we were the biggest pockets, did not owe that. And that's why we stood and fought back to cut the price down. No other reason. With that being said, is there any further? I will entertain a motion.
Did you want to open it? Did you already open it?
Yes, I asked if anybody had any
Question. Mr. Chair, I would move that the board formally accept the Belfair Water Reclamation Facility WRF mediated settlement with Boss Construction in the amount of $1,199,990 $1,999.90, which will release the county from any further legal proceedings with Boss or Seahurst Electrical and allow Mason County to officially start the required project closeout procedures.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
It has been moved and seconded for the approval of the board to formally accept the Belfair Water Reclamation Facility, WRF, mediation settlement with Boss Construction in the amount of $1,199,999.90, which will release the county from any further legal proceedings with Boss or Seahurst Electric and allow Mason County to officially start the required project closeout procedures. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries. Normally, we would go on to item number 9, but we can't start it before the 9:30 mark. Is there any, we'll move on to temporarily on to item number 10. Is there any,
10.1.
yeah, okay, we'll go ahead and move on to 10.1 then. 10.1, approval to appoint a new member to the Mason County Civil Service Commission to fill a vacated position. Would you like, let's do a brief discussion on that and tell the people what we're talking about though. Would you mind?
I'd be happy to. So the Mason County has, by law, has a Civil Service Commission, which is a council that directs and makes recommendation and decisions around hiring, promotions. I'm going to get all this wrong. Pardon me? Reclassifications of persons in our public safeties positions here in the county. And this board is, we do have a vacancy here, and we had 3 applicants for the vacancy, Mr. B. Dean Bird, Cheryl Williams, and Michael Foster. On Monday, June 8th, the commission conducted interviews of these 3 applicants, and at this point, we need to make a decision among those 3 candidates of whom we would like to serve on that board and appoint to that board.
During those briefings, it was very nice that we have people that would step up and care enough to give their time. We very much appreciate that. There were some really great answers and some pretty qualified people. I was very impressed, and I hope it continues like that with all of our committees.
One thing I found out through the interviews, and I didn't realize this, the reason that the Civil Service Commission is in law and required is that apparently there was a practice long time ago of when a new sheriff came to town that they would clear out the staff and bring in their own staff, and so to create stability and certainty, they determined that they would take most of those hiring functions out of the hands of the sheriff directly. Now he still gets the final say on who gets appointed, but those recommendations of who are the qualified candidates are forwarded by the Civil Service Commission.
With that being said, I will entertain a motion.
And Mr. Chair, I would move that we would appoint Mr. B. Dean Bird to the Civil Service Commission. Mr. Bird is because Mr. Bird is a former 30 years, I think, deputy sheriff here in Mason County, has tremendous knowledge of not only the Civil Service Commission, but of course of the public safety needs in Mason County.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved and seconded for the appointment of B. Dean Bird to the Civil Service Commission. Any discussion?
I think Dean would do a terrific job, known him a long time, and the other candidates are well qualified as well. And Dean is an outstanding candidate.
I think they're well qualified as well, and I believe he was 4 months away from 40 years. Is that accurate? Yeah, 4 months. Can you imagine that? 4 months away from 40 years on anything? With that being said, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, the motion carries. We will go back now to item number 9, which is a public hearing. The public hearing is to consider the application for a private line occupancy permit for James Hunter of Skokomish Valley Road, and you're not Melissa.
I am not. Good morning, Commissioners. Loretta Swanson for Melissa McFadden. Melissa is at the County Engineers Summer Conference. What we are asking this morning of Commissioners is your approval to execute a private line occupancy agreement between the county and the Hunters. And this is just simply for a water line that is crossing Skokomish Valley Road, hanging on our brand new beautiful bridge. and then serving some property across the street. And this is a water line that's been in place, and this is simply formalizing the fact that it is there. It's, I was just going to say that it was advertised, it was posted, all of the good legal notices. We received no comments, and that is it.
Is there any questions from the audience in regards to this issue? Staff? Okay, thank you very much, staff.
Yep.
Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to testify at this time? Hearing none. Commissioners?
I think it's a standard operation, building a new bridge, and looking forward to that. I know the people in the audience have worked on the emergency services side, and this is the last bridge to be fixed from the 2007 flood.
It's amazing all the
That's a long time, yeah, the time that it's taken, and the federal money is here finally to fix that bridge.
I know we had somebody from Dewey out there on the radio at that time. They were without power and stuff all through their thing, but some of them will communicate through that, I heard. Anything?
Just when I get to drive over the bridge, I'll take note and look for the water lines. Will it go above or below? Below. Oh, I probably won't see it then.
Again, this is pretty standard practice for us on this, but it does require a public hearing. That's why we're doing this. So with that being said, I will entertain a motion, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board approve the private line occupancy permit for a water line near 1870 Skokomish Valley Road for Mr. James Hunter.
And I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded for the approval of private line occupancy permit for a water line here, 1870 Skokomish Valley Road for Mr. James Hunter. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, the hearing is closed. We will go back to item number 10, which is an ability for our department heads and elected officials to speak to the commission and community. Are there any department heads that would like to speak at this time? Please. It's about time.
I'm Justin from the Mason County Extension Office, and I just wanted to let everybody know in the community that our 4-H camp, summer STEM camp, is coming up June 22nd through the 25th. Kind of coincides with the amateur radio operator, so and actually nice little dovetail. It's from noon to 2 p.m., so they can either show up before or after. And it's on our website. You can register. It's at mason.wsu.edu. And it's summertime as well, so obviously we're going to be having our upcoming garden tours in July, and I'll be coming and presenting a flyer for that as well. So thank you very much.
Say STEM?
STEM, yes, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So that is, so yeah, it's a good opportunity for kids to learn different technologies and play and have an experiential learning opportunity in the community. So
First off, Justin, welcome.
thank you so much.
The gentleman that was here for a long time before was here every single week. And
I heard, yeah, he's always up
but
here.
You know what? We enjoyed it very much. He helped us and educated us, and actually gave us a lot of different events that we needed to attend and why we needed to attend them. And he actually was very important to us, and we were sorry to see him go. So
Well, I hope to be able to do the
I
same.
was gonna say, those are big shoes, and hope you do.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Mr. Smith, Justin Smith here, just recently came to us as our new director for the Washington State University Extension Program. And in the filling the vacancy left by Bob Simmons, near and dear to everybody's heart, came a change in focus of the initiative of the WSU Extension. We will continue our water quality programs, our local food programs, our food smart programs, but we will be adding, and Justin comes in and fills the shoes to develop our community development initiatives, which are so essential in partnering with our economic development initiatives. And I'm very excited to have you on board. We're already working on a couple very exciting projects, and so I look forward to seeing you in our community, hand in hand with our economic development director.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I think it's, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity. You know, we're already working to develop out the program, and I think, yeah, we could have a big impact moving forward.
Well, we think that's wonderful as a commission. We've actually been asking for that for quite a while, or
Yeah.
since we got here at least. And so
It's nice to actually get something you want, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'd love to speak to you after the meeting.
I would love to, yeah. I'll stick around. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Justin.
Thank
you.
Looking forward to get to know you
Yeah.
and get around the community, so.
Will you be attending Hood Canal Coordinating Council meetings as well?
This, on Wednesday?
Yep.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. With that, department head, please.
You know, I don't talk very often, commissioners, but first of all, this is for Commissioner Sheldon, go Cougs. But I want to take a moment to thank the radio committees and the groups that work. A lot of times, the community isn't aware that they're working in the background. I fortunately get to see them when they're supporting the sheriffs in their search and rescues, when they're in for their meetings. Mark has been an employee with Mason County in the past. Sandy has been a long-term employee with Mason County, and their knowledge and experience in the county has been instrumental in keeping the support system going. But I also want to recognize, and the reason I do this is supposedly I co-share DEM responsibilities, but I want to recognize two other people that have really kind of picked up and stepped up and picked up where we left off when we switched directors or managers for DEM, and that is Tammy Wright. Tammy's been a long-term employee with Mason County. She has a long history with DEM, a good knowledge base, and has been helpful in instigating and continuing that process with our volunteer groups. But also I want to recognize Ross McDonald. I'm sorry, McDonald. I'm sorry, Ross. You know, I only at the other end of the building, so I'm sorry. I've called him worse, he's called me worse, you know. But Ross came in with a fresh look on things. He has a outgoing and is instrumental in getting these groups to cooperate. We had a long running headbutting session with several of the groups. He got them in, we sat down and basically figured out what was going on and resolved that with, you know, a personality conflict or whatever it was. But and now it's rolling. And again, in an emergency, you're not going to really see them until all is said and done. But they're there, they're ready to go, and they're very well trained. And I do really appreciate the service they provide to the county also. So thank you for your time. I appreciate
I have
it.
a question. With the Goodyear blimp here, would they be called into service should there be an emergency?
If we needed to putt, we would be getting, if we were Tiger Woods, we would be seeing them. We do have a lot more traffic right by us out there, as you can see, parked along 101, looking at the blimp. Yes. Yes.
Chairman, just one item I thought of, and just kind of a serious note. I noticed that there was another rescue at the Steel Bridge this weekend.
Yes.
You know, as a young kid, I climbed down there. I mean, it was a stupid thing to do. But is there a way to prevent people? I mean, maybe we should all start thinking about that. How can we get a decent signs or something that tells people that that is one of the most dangerous places?
I
believe Tammy's on the Olympic mountain
Yeah.
rescue team for climbers.
Any other ideas from people that are working this field?
You know,
that we can do
I've
to
not been
prevent
up there.
kids?
I've heard that they've
Could you
already.
please step to the podium? Sorry.
I'm Tammy Wright with DEM. I have heard that, is it DNR? Simpson who owns?
I think the Forest Service.
Forest Service, okay, that they have signed it. There has been fences. I think it gets torn down, cut.
Yeah, I didn't see it's fencing up there. I was up there not too long ago.
But there was a bulletin that was sent out by Bill Adam about that, and it indicated that it was signed, it was illegal to do. This is like the third or fourth, just in the last.
But not well signed.
No, that has always been illegal.
I think it's proof that you cannot legislate common sense.
Right, right.
Yes. But to give you an idea of how difficult it is, just for a regular person, was it 8, 10 years ago, we had those 2 rangers that got stuck down there. Rangers.
Yep.
They decided to rappel off of there and got stuck down there. Can you imagine that?
Well, their rope wasn't long enough. That was their problem. They were hanging.
That was funny. I didn't know that part. So thank you very much. Are there any other department heads who would like to speak at this time? Hearing none, are there any elected officials in the room? I don't see any. Then we will go ahead and move on to item number 9, which is board reports and calendar. Commissioner Sheldon, would you like to go first? Or?
Sure, and I'll be short because I left my book at home. My calendar, got here and I looked in the car and it wasn't there. But last week I missed a meeting, our commission meeting. I was in Coeur d'Alene. They were testifying before the Northwest Power and Conservation Council. And that was an interesting group. There's 2 members appointed from each state, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana, and they drop a 20-year, a 5-year and 20-year plan for power in our region based on Bonneville. And of course the emphasis is on conservation and not really on new resources. We don't have enough power in the state, but we have a problem with capacity. And that's when everybody decides it's time to turn on those air conditioners, or everybody decides to watch the Seahawks in the Super Bowl or whatever. So it's a very interesting group, and I hope I made a difference there. And I'll be here this week as well. We may have some legislative work this week. We're working very closely with, I am anyway, on the transportation side for our transportation budget as well as the general operating budget. So we're getting close, and hopefully we'll get this thing wrapped up here either this week or next week.
So last week, following our commission meeting, I met with our EDC director and Mr. Smith and nonprofit director, the Enterprise for Equity, on some. We're hoping to apply for a community development block grant that would provide micro enterprise training, as well as some seed money and micro loans for business startup development. And this is, I think, going to be a tremendous. I heard a figure once in Washington, 90% of the people employed in Washington State are employed by small business. So they are the engines of economic engines of the county, and I really hope that we can make get this put together so that we have a lot of new small businesses that potentially could also support our tourism industry. Had a meeting of the MACECOM, which is our 911 operators, the board, and then I represented Commissioner Sheldon on our Olympic Regional Air Quality Board meeting, and then had a meeting with Scott Hilburn, PUD District 1 Director, Hospital Director 1, Public Hospital Director 1, and Eric Mole on some of their initiatives to keep that high school pool going, as well as some other needs we have in the county that we could potentially work together on. I did spend the weekend in South Dakota at a wedding, and did identify energies that are, I mean, they're very high out. South Dakota is very much producing a lot of the energy, and one of the things, my brother is a computer programmer for Puget Sound Energy, and he says our biggest problem is also that we can't store energy, and I'm just hopeful we'll get to that place where we can start storing some of this, especially the wind energy that we produce. Had briefings yesterday and met with, the school. I did attend the school superintendent welcoming reception, Mr. Apostle. I invited him to any ideas he had on the county and school district being able to collaborate, that we could do that. This morning had the opportunity to congratulate and recognize citizens at Olympic Middle School and at Choice High School who developed this Shelton Creek project behind the high school, or behind our Timberland Library here in Shelton. It's an annual award that's just been begun by our public health department to recognize leaders, youth leaders in health. And we thank those people for their work on that project, and I hope that it inspires some of the youth to step forward and do some other projects that improve the health of this community. Following this meeting, we will, let's see, I have some meetings with staff, and then we'll have the Joint Mason Transit Authority Board an advisory council meeting, and it'll be held in Hoodsport at 4 p.m. at the fire station. So we hope folks in Hoodsport will come out and meet with us as well. Tomorrow morning, I have the Criminal Justice Working Team, the group of collaborators who are responding to the layoffs at Simpson and OPP, and then Hood Canal Coordinating Council will have their annual retreat in Bremerton. And then Thursday, I'll be meeting with some representatives from a private company interested in providing some recreational opportunities on county lands. And then we have a MACECOM budget committee meeting. And then Friday, a tour of Jefferson County transportation projects as part of the Peninsula Regional Transportation Planning Organization. And back here on Monday for briefings.
I'll try to go short form. I attended, after our last meeting, I went and attended a Graduates of Distinctions for North Mason School District, of which Peggy Van Buskirk was awarded, which was wonderful, but also sitting there with somebody I had went to school with as well, and a few others. It was just really wonderful to watch them and watch them be recognized. They've done some wonderful things in our community. We are lucky in our community to have people that not just went to school here, but stayed and invested their time and their energies to do so much more for their nation. Met with different citizens who are upset about the new Taco Bell that we had worked so hard to get. I worked on that for 7 years, but there's issues with transportation coming in and out of it, of which I know you were aware. We'll have to sit and talk about it a little bit, see what we come up with, but I know that you're working hard on fixing that. I spent some time with the state auditor in regards to the sewer plant, and you know, they see no issues with it. They'll be sitting down and trying to speak with the commissioners individually on it, and you know, perhaps some of the options that we have to do with. Met with Derek Kilmer's staff. I also attended a Democrat meeting. Thought I was going there to get yelled at, and it didn't happen. It actually was the opposite. They were very nice to me and thanked me for something. So I was a little bit caught off guard on that one.
Maybe I had to go to one.
Yeah. It's just funny how that works. I've been meeting with some of the elected officials. We have the West End Alliance. We meet with some of the elected officials at different times in regards to a lot of the projects that we have going on still in limbo down there in Olympia. And again, I'm going to take this opportunity to thank you, Commissioner Sheldon, for all your hard work. Some of the biggest projects that we have in Mason County are still alive, and it's because you stood tall and are still standing tall on this. And I believe we're going to get them. I actually think this is going to be one of those times. And I have never advocated the tax. That's not the issue. The issue is if there's going to be a tax, that we have our projects in it. Because if not, we pay for it and we get nothing out of it. That's the only question. And it looks like they were going to pass, so there was some good poker playing that made sure some of our projects were kept in there and done well. So I want to thank you for that. You know, it's not a done deal. I understand that, but it still takes a lot to stand tall and make those things happen. We're all working so hard at it. I want to thank Commissioner Jeffries for today, and she did a wonderful job of speaking with those kids. If anybody knows, I avoid that stuff like the flag. It's just not the kids. I love my kids, but speaking with off the cuff, she did really wonderful, and I wanted to thank her for that as well. As promising, just looking at some of these kids, and you look at some of their hair designs and colors, and some of the outfits that they put on. But I don't look at it in a negative way. It's a good way. As past mayor said, at least they're not on drugs. And I agree. You know, find a way to express yourself without doing that. I'm impressed with some of that stuff they wore. I just don't know how to where you can find clothes like that. But we had our EDC board meeting as well, and I want to bring up, you had made mention of the small businesses in the state of Washington. We've approved to send to our planning commission's recommendation, and hopefully it comes to us. Knowing that small business is the key, we've always had an issue with being controlled in Mason County by the definition of what rural character is. There is no rural definition. And one of the things that allows us to do is to put what our rural definition in. And the EDC regulatory subcommittee is asking for the inclusion of a randomly located rural business. That small business located outside the growth area is our true character, rural character, and which could change things a lot if we have that in our comprehensive plan. Could allow for some things to happen. For example, these people at Simpson in these entrepreneurial programs, imagine if they could open a business on their property. Something simple, they're already doing small engine repair, or they're already doing welding or something. It would make things a lot easier for them. Speaking of that, I did also attend the St. Simpson, I will be attending the St. Simpson meeting she's speaking of, but we talked about it at the last one as well. I met with citizens, or said that we still have no parking right in the north end. I met with the new business owners and sat down with the owners in the new place called Three Agaves in Belfair. What a wonderful place they did, and I gotta admit the food was terrific. Briefings, and then we had our youth leadership awards this morning. After this meeting today, we'll have our joint meetings with Mason Transit Authority of McTabb up in Hoodsport. We have that Simpson gathering of all the different individuals who are working to help those people from Simpson and eventually from OPP Panel Products. There is a Lakeland Village Town Hall meeting tonight. We also have our all-day session with the Hood Canal Coordinating Council to look at the directions that we want to go and put together a path to the future. We have, I have a meeting with the Hood Canal Bridge Study, Impact Study people that I'll be attending. I have a Temple Board meeting for Mount Moriah, a meeting with a developer and investor in the north end to talk about parks and trails, and this person's saying they're willing to invest what I consider serious dollars to start this process out and to put it together. And I'm very much appreciative. I'll meet with them on Friday. We have a CERT event, Citizens Emergency Response Team, of which we both did it, and I will recommend it to every one of you. It doesn't matter age or strength or anything, just being able to have the knowledge about the things that I learned about our community was amazing, but also helps you to understand not just what to do, what not to do, but to read some of the signs of the things they put on the buildings, what they mean. Everything seems to have a meaning, including even the colors of which they're doing it, where the radio folks, again, are very important. But they're having a disaster preparedness event where they're going, what is it, an earthquake?
Yes.
An earthquake event, so please show interest in it for your community, put one together, get 10 people together, they'll come out and they'll train you, they'll give you the training, because it all is all local. What this is set up to do, and we had this conversation yesterday, this is set up so that if something happens in your community, you're not going to Belfair or Shelton, you're going outside your door, looking at what the disaster is, what's happening, and you're starting the assessment of the situation and helping people right then. It's as local gets. And other ones that are trained in your area come together with you, and you start a process of going house down. There's a lot to it, so please, if you get an opportunity, it's a 20-hour course? 20 hours. Well worth it. Please do it. And briefings of the North Mesa Community Voice. Is there anything further to come before this commission? I will entertain a motion.
Move we adjourn.
Second. We are adjourned. Thank you folks for coming today.
Thank you.